Watching a film with friends, missing VHS videotape repeating.
Welcome back, Creeps and Peeps, Sam and crew. Today we're looking at Dark City. Widescreen VHS. Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly, and William Hurt, rest in peace. From the director of The Crow. They built the city to see what makes us tick. Last night, one of us went off. Quote, sets a bold new standard for science fiction. Widescreen across there. Gray edging. Frightening dream, a dizzying trip, according to Marshall Fine of Gannett newspapers. Welcome to a world where mystery and madness collide. From the director of The Crow comes the futuristic thriller that's a dark and dazzling sci-fi mind-bender. Mason Wood of CBS TV. When John Murdoch, Rufus Sewell from Dangerous Beauty, awakens in a strange hotel room, he finds that he is wanted for a series of brutal murders. The problem is he can't remember a thing. Pursued by the police and haunted by the strangers, mysterious beings who possess the ability to stop time and alter reality, he seeks to unravel the twisted riddle of his identity. But in a city where reality is the ultimate illusion, discovering the truth could be fatal. Also starring Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly, and William Hurt. Dark City is an, quote, astonishing visual and dramatic triumph. Roger Ebert, Siskel and Ebert. 2 thumbs up. An eye-popping visual feast. Color, approximately 100 minutes. I love this movie. Like, top 10 favorite films of all time. Like, obviously, like most, fanboys in the mid-90s, we were fans of The Crow. Big fan of The Crow. Went crazy. Got all the comic books, soundtracks, all that kind of stuff. So I remember going to see a screening of Scream 2, 1997, probably December-ish or something like that with my mom. And the preview came up as dark and cloudy, had this kind of like gothic kind of sounding music. And I literally remember I either said it aloud or I said it, or I thought it in my head. I'm like, this looks like The Crow. Then a title card came up that says from the director of The Crow. And it was a preview for Dark City. And I was like, that looks fantastic. So it ended up coming out in February of 98. And at that point in time, I was actually working at the same movie theater where I saw the preview. But for whatever reason, my theater didn't get it, but another theater owned by the same company did. So I had to drive out to Olathe, Kansas, to a theater known at what used to be called the Great Mall of the Great Plains. There's a Dickinson Theater out there. I forget what it's called. Probably just Great Plains Dickinson. I don't know. So I worked for Dickinson West Clinton 12 in Shawnee at the time. So my friend and I went out there with my mom. She bought 3 tickets to this. Him and I went and watched this, and then she went and watched The Wedding Singer, because The Wedding Singer was out at the time. There's maybe 17 to 15 to 20 people, let's say, in the theater. It was like mid to late afternoon on a weekend. And then remember, they came in, like the theater people came in either before or after the screening, and they gave away T-shirts to everybody that they could, but they had like 15 T-shirts. And the only 2 people that didn't get them were my friend and I. And we were like the youngest ones there by like 20 years. Everybody else there was in their 30s or 40s or 50s and older. Why they were watching this movie, who knows? But probably because of William Hurt. Now, I thought this movie was fantastic. Like, I've just, ever since I watched this movie, I just loved the dark noir style. The music is amazing. Rufus Sewell is great. Jennifer Connelly, of course, is magnificent and beautiful. This is the movie that kind of reinvigorated my attraction to Jennifer Connelly. So obviously after Labyrinth, I think I was a fan of Phenomena at this point in time. But, that was teenage Jennifer Connelly, but this is like mature age Jennifer Connelly. I think she looked the best in this movie. Because right after this, she followed it up with 2 other of my favorite movies of hers. She did Requiem for a Dream and then Waking the Dead. Both came out in 2000. And then kind of 2001 with Beautiful Mind, she kind of took off. This is Kiefer Sutherland pre-24, so he was kind of like in this little bit of a lull in his career. But the DVD of this, there's the regular version, the theatrical version, and there's a DVD of the director's cut version. But the commentary that Roger Ebert does on this is fantastic on the DVD, because this is, I think, one of his favorite movies of the year. Alex Proyas writing and directing. Had like a $10 million budget at the time, which was a lot, in the late 90s, but is better than half the movies they make for $200 million nowadays. The weird thing was, like, I remember, I think I projected The Crow on 35 millimeter or something. I used to post pictures or video, and it shared to like Instagram and Facebook. But at some point, weird point in time, Alex Proyas and I were Facebook friends, and him and I would comment back and forth, and that was just a mind f, Facebook, being Facebook friends with the guy who directed two of my favorite movies ever. If you've never seen this, you have to check this out. I remember going to, I think it was the Savers, and I was picking up VHS tapes, and they had a copy of Dark City. Not this one, but the original one. And I almost picked it up just to pick it up. Then there's two other younger people, probably in the late teens, early 20s, buying VHS tapes. And I think they had a copy of Fifth Element in their hand, and I took Dark City and I handed it to them. I'm like, get this one. They're like, yeah. I'm like, get this one. I mean, it was only $1, so I'm fairly certain this is the one that I bought off the shelf from Best Buy back in the day. But then I did end up acquiring these two copies over the years. This one I probably got when I was working at City Thrift, probably came in a big haul. This one I bought somewhat recently. A guy at the place I worked, where I have a vendor case, a girl I worked with, her dad also has a vendor case because he's one of those guys that goes to every weekend going thrifting and picking up stuff from garbage garage sales. So he came across like this huge lot of VHS tapes. He got them all really cheap, and he sold them for a decent price. And I thought this one was originally sealed, but I think it's definitely a reseal, because I think if you kind of look down inside, like the white discoloring and all that, it's not from the outside plastic, but it's got that H seam on it, which is kind of a weird thing. But I can't tell. I should probably open up and look at it, because actually this copy in a way looks worse than this copy. But pretty sure this is the one I originally bought. But this is the other versions, the non-widescreen versions. And of course I have the director's, I think the DVD might have been, was the DVD an old snapper case one? Because the New Line Cinema would have been snapper cases in like 98. Because then eventually they put out like the director's cut DVD, and then of course the Blu-ray. This is not one that I ever projected on 35 millimeter, but one of my old theaters, we did do a screening of it, I think for maybe its 20th anniversary. If it's 98, then 2018, no, it would have been 2018. It was just one of our random screenings we did. It was really cool to go and watch, but they showed the director's cut version as opposed to the regular version, which is I'm kind of weird on the theatrical versus director's cut, because I watched the theatrical version so many times that I know all its bits or its beats, and its, where the music hits and the way it's all cut together. I'm just so used to it. But between it and the director's cut is better, obviously, because it's not so dumbed down. Because at the beginning of the theatrical cut, a voiceover from Kiefer Sutherland basically tells you the whole entire backstory of the strangers, and that kind of gives it away, so you know exactly what's going on, as opposed to starting it off and not knowing anything, and it slowly unfolds throughout the movie. And speaking of strangers, let me be able to see this or not. This is a painting that my friend did in high school. The same friend who went and saw this movie with me. I've had this hanging up in the walls of every apartment I've ever had for the past 27 years. It's crazy. So this movie will be 26 years old come February of 2026. And like I said, it is still absolutely one of my favorite movies ever. I just love the whole noir feel. I love the darkness of it. I love the music. I love Jennifer Connelly. If you've never seen this movie, do yourself a favor, watch Dark City. As always, let me know your comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. See you next time.